What is going on, Headliner Nation? Kyle back with the Fantasy Headliners, and we are heading into week 13 of the NFL season. We don't have very much time left in the year. It's crazy to think about where we've come and where we are right now, but I need everyone in the comments down below. Let me know, what was your record to start the season and what is it right now? We're seeing a lot of comments from people saying, man, I started off really slow, but I have absolutely came back in an absolute banger fashion, and you're getting ready to annihilate your fantasy football playoffs. So let me know down in the comments below who is successful right now. If you're trying to play spoiler, do you have a big matchup coming up? Let me know. And then of course you have to hit the like button for me. But I've got tight end start and sit analysis for you this week. We're going to chat about a few tight ends that are locks in our lineup. A few tight ends that honestly, there might be a little bit too risky, and even if they're listed here as a start, I don't know if I trust them, so make sure you listen and don't just look at the graphics. And then we've got a few guys that we just don't even care about. But that's the way it is at the tight end position. Let's hop into it. Taylor, flip it over. We're going to go Buffalo and New England to get things started on Thursday Night Football this week. I'm going to go back to Dawson Knox this week. I do not think Gabe Davis is going to be a factor this week. I'm going to be off of him going up against New England. And yes, New England just got torched by Adam Thielen and TJ Hockenson and, of course, Justin Jefferson. But I think they make the adjustments needed to get after the Bills this week. And not only that, but Josh Allen, he's just struggling right now. That elbow is absolutely a problem for him. The New England allows more fantasy points typically to tight ends than they do to wide receivers. TJ Hockenson scored last week. My hope is that Dawson Knox can find the end zone as well. Now, Buffalo allows the 5th fewest fantasy points to tight end, so this is already a bad matchup for Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. And even though Hunter Henry scored last week, which I love to see, he's not doing it enough. And in this matchup, it's not enough to get in our lineup. Pittsburgh and Atlanta, and Pat Freiermuth has been so consistent over the last few weeks that he was a guy that I absolutely praised last week. And I said, outside of the big three with Andrews, Kittle, and Kelsey, Freiermuth is the number 4. He's the most consistent tight end. And then he let us all down. But the good news is that basically every tight end let us down last week. And that just means we have a better opportunity for a bounce back against Atlanta this week. I am expecting the bounce back. It is a good matchup for him, and it's hard to believe that they wouldn't utilize him going up against Atlanta. And then for the Atlanta Falcons, Michael Pruitt. No. We're not doing it. Yeah, he's the tight end right now in Atlanta. Yes, he scored a touchdown last week. But if we can't get this offense to consistently give targets and end zone targets to Kyle Pitts, why are we going to trust it with Pruitt? Denver and Baltimore, and with even with no Jerry Jeudy, Greg Dulcich hasn't been able to do anything. And honestly, at this point, I don't know if it's Russell Wilson's fault. I don't know if it's Nathaniel Hackett's fault. But something has to change in Denver. Will it change this season? Probably not. So for the majority of the rest of the year, we're probably going to be dealing with a headache there. And Greg Dulcich will head back to being a sit for me. It's tough to see because he got off to such a strong start. They just aren't looking his way anymore, which makes no sense. Mark Andrews, he was also a letdown last week. If he didn't drop that touchdown mark, I need you to bounce back this week, my man. Easy touchdown, dropped it in the end zone. Probably the easiest one that we'll ever see him have. That's all right, though. Things happen. He's still a start for me, and he's still in your lineup. Green Bay and Chi-Town, and will either of these teams have their starting quarterback this week? That is yet to be determined, and we will continue to monitor that throughout the week. Chicago does allow the 6th fewest fantasy points to tight ends. Robert Tonyan has seen no volume this year, and if his boy Aaron Rodgers isn't even loving him right now, I highly expect Jordan Love to not show him that type of love. See what I did there? Either. So even if Jordan Love starts this week, it doesn't really change anything for me. For Cole Kmet, I am going to list him as a start this week. With Trevor Siemian under center last week, he saw 6 targets, which wasn't that bad. Now he only caught 2 of them, which is bad. But if we can get him that type of volume again, also add on, no Darnell Mooney. He's gone. So really, Cole Kmet is like the steadiest option they're going to have in the passing game. Going up against Green Bay, I assume they're probably going to have to throw it. They're not going to really shut Green Bay down the entire game, unless Jordan Love starts and it doesn't work out. But with that being said, Cole Kmet will be a start for me this week. I think the volume will be there. Can we get him the yards? Can we find the end zone? Jacksonville and Detroit, and this one bothers me. This was a tough one. Now, not for the Detroit side because we're not playing any of the tight ends from Detroit. It's just not happening. The question for me is Evan Ingram. Detroit allows the fourth most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. We know this already. But Detroit has also been a lot better recently than what we've seen over the beginning of the season, right? That defense looks a lot better than what it did at one point in time. So as I look in this, I'm saying, okay, I definitely would love to start Evan Ingram here. It seems like a smash start, especially if Jeff Okudah were to be back this week. That makes the secondary a little tougher. Jacksonville coming off a really good offensive game, but again, Detroit at home could end up having their number a little bit more than what Baltimore did. I do expect this game to not be as easy for Trevor Lawrence as it was last week, and I want to start Evan Ingram because of that. But he hasn't done anything since week 8. He has less than 20 yards every game since week 8. That's concerning for me. And because it's such a terrible trend right now, and because Detroit's defense has played a lot better, I'm going to go with him as a sit this week, and I'm going to expect that volume to go to Zay Jones and Christian Kirk. Cleveland and Houston, and yeah, David Njoku didn't do anything until one catch in the fourth quarter, but fantasy owners will take it regardless. Finding the end zone was great for Njoku. It's good to see him back out there, but more importantly, it's good to see him healthy. As he shows that he is healthy, he's going to get that volume back that I think we saw at one point in time. So continue to throw him out there. He's going to be a start for me going up against Houston this week. Not a bad matchup, right in the middle for him. And then for Jordan Akins, this is not a good matchup. Cleveland allows the 7th fewest fantasy points to tight ends, but my question is going to be about Kyle Allen. Kyle Allen taking over as the starter for Houston for Davis Mills. How long does that last for? If he continues to stay the starter, Jordan Akins could be a guy that has pretty good fantasy value. It's kind of a low tight end, high tight end 2 option. We'll monitor that though. This isn't really the situation or the matchup to start with that, but in the coming weeks, maybe it is. The New York Jets and Minnesota Vikings will bring me to my Manscaped must-watch matchup of the week. Still plenty of time to head over to manscaped.com. Use code word headliners at checkout. You're going to get 20% off and free shipping to get all those special items to your loved ones for Christmas. Utilize that code right now at manscaped.com. For the New York Jets, we've got a tight end that might be ascending again. Was great to start the season, disappeared with Zach Wilson, and now Mike White, he's actually making this offense look decent again. So I'm going to go back to Tyler Conklin this week. I mean, it's a good matchup going up against Minnesota, top 12 in most fantasy points allowed to opposing tight ends, and he's firmly back to a start for me, especially given the matchup and Mike White looking as good as he did last week. But as good as Tyler Conklin may be going forward, TJ Hockenson has been that good for the last few weeks. Now, since being traded over to Minnesota, his first 3 games, he was averaging nearly 10 targets a game, which is great. That dropped significantly last week, but the thing that happened was he found the end zone, and that is what we wanted to happen. Slight drop in targets, but it's okay. He's becoming an easy start every single week. The volume will continue to be there, and as he continues to grow in this offense, I think those touchdowns are going to be coming more and more soon. With the Commanders and the Giants, there really isn't a whole lot to see here. Now, Logan Thomas is getting a favorable matchup. The Giants allow the 5th most fantasy points to tight ends. But John Bates was the guy last week. More targets, more receptions, more touchdowns. Now, Logan Thomas has been beat up a lot this season. There's a chance that he is beat up right now. There's a chance that maybe John Bates will be the guy moving forward. I don't know for certain, but Logan Thomas had a big week 2 weeks ago. So what's happening with this position here? Even in a favorable matchup, I don't know how to call this one, so we're just going to leave Logan Thomas as a sit. If you're thinking about John Bates, I'm not going to go that route either. And then for Chris Myrick, I mean, Washington allows the 2nd fewest fantasy points per game to tight ends. We are already going to use him, but then in a tougher matchup, heck no, we're definitely not. Tennessee and Philadelphia is going to bring a matchup of the who cares. That's right. Nobody from Tennessee, nobody from Philadelphia is doing anything right now. I mean, if Dallas Goedert were playing, absolutely he would be a star. But a lot of people were thinking Jack Stoll after Goedert went down. Not. Nothing has happened since then. I mean, these aren't great matchups. Nothing about these two teams screams fantasy tight ends. We're staying away from everyone. Seattle and the LA Rams, and the Seahawks had a great matchup last week for their tight ends, and they didn't do anything with it. This week going up against the Rams, I'm not doing anything with them. Tyler Higbee, he's going to find himself as a sit this week. Now, what happened with Tyler Higbee last week was that, number one, he was limited. Apparently, he wasn't even able to play a majority of the snaps. And when he did, he was actually going in as an ineligible receiver. He was going in on the end of the offensive line to help block. So there were times last week when that's all he was supposed to be doing. He wasn't going to catch the football. The only thing he was doing was helping block on the offensive line. Given that this is a matchup against Seattle that allows the second most fantasy points per game, I would love to be excited about it. But we don't even know what's happening with Higbee at this point. That entire team is decimated with injuries. We'll just wait and see. Miami and San Francisco, Mike Gesicki, to the bench, baby, to the bench. So the San Francisco 49ers allow the fourth fewest fantasy points to opposing tight ends. And I mean, if Smythe is getting touchdowns over Mike Gesicki, that's never a good thing. So we're not going to go with Gesicki this week for sure. However, Miami allows the third most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. George Kittle coming off a tough week last week, but expect him to bounce back here in a really great matchup. He's still tight end 3 for me. KC in Cincinnati and Travis Kelce, of course you're starting him. There's nothing I can even say here that tells you any more than you already know. With Hayden Hurst, with Chase being back, Jamar Chase is expected to be back this week. I don't love Hayden Hurst, but my thing with him is we see a little bit of a drop in the volume, but the quality and the efficiency of the production goes up. Bigger yards on less plays and more opportunities for touchdowns. I've got him as a start this week. The Chargers and the Raiders, baby. Woo. Nothing to see here. Well, not really. Gerald Everett at this point, we're going to send him back to the bench. Everett is a sit now, especially if Mike Williams is able to make it back this week. The numbers overall this season look great for him, but it was really a lot to start the season. I mean, this tells you something about Gerald Everett. The dude gets a 4 in production right now and hasn't done anything. Actually, let me take that back. He's done one thing since week 4. Since week 4, he's had 1 week where he's been fantasy viable. And the dude is still top 12 in production at the position on a per game basis. That tells you all you need to know about the tight end. It's bad. The tight end position is super, super bad. If you drafted Travis Kelce this year, really this is the first year where, in my opinion, it made a lot of sense and it worked out very, very well for you. In fact, going into next year, it's probably going to be a strategy that I will be a little bit more vocal on in terms of taking Travis Kelce, me preferably in the second round. But we'll see. We'll see what his ADP looks like over the offseason. For Foster Moreau, this actually isn't a bad matchup for him, but it's all about the touchdown for me. He has at least 30 receiving yards over the last 5 weeks, which isn't great, but it's not awful because he's still getting some work, but he does have touchdowns in 2 of the last 3 weeks. Let's hope he finds the end zone here. Indianapolis and Dallas allows the third fewest fantasy points to tight ends. And even though Jelani Woods is coming off a huge game against Dallas, I can't go back to him in a tougher matchup. For the Dallas Cowboys, Dalton Schultz, 3 touchdowns over the course of the last 3 weeks. He is firmly cemented as the number 2 in the passing game in this offense right now. So in terms of taking a look at the top tight ends that are going to be safe, again, you've got the big 3, you've got Freiermuth, you've got TJ Hockenson, you've got Dalton Schultz. Monday Night Football is going to bring me back to a disappointing week last week from Juwan Johnson, but a big bounce back this week. Tampa Bay allows the 6th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends, and I'm going to give Johnson another shot. He's the tight end 4 since week 6. Even with no fantasy points at all last week. That's how good that he has been. And yes, a lot of it is from touchdowns, but he's still seeing for the tight end position a decent amount of volume. Good matchup here against Tampa Bay. I'm 100% going back to Juwan Johnson for this one. And for Cade Otton, New Orleans allows the fewest fantasy points to tight ends. Sorry, Otton, you're out the door. there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. All of my week 13 analysis for the tight end position. Don't forget to check back later in the week for the rankings episodes for any updates that we have for you. But for now, I'm going to get out of here. Hit that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Again, leave me a comment down below as well. Let me know what your record is looking like if you got off to a slow start. And then, of course, ladies and gentlemen, I got to remind all of you to stay safe and stay healthy. And I'll catch you all in the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.